At the edge of the Southern Ocean lies Lutruwita, Tasmania. A land of extremes where jagged cliffs rise from the ocean, unimpeded swells from the roaring 40s sweep in from Antarctica, and ancient forests stretch inland, shaping a place unlike anywhere else on Earth. Powered solely by the wind and our own 2 arms and legs, we set out in 2 18-foot sailing kayaks to attempt to circumnavigate this remarkable island.
1, 2, 3, go!
We are flying along, aren't we?
On our journey, we marvelled at prehistoric landscapes, took shelter from polar blasts, rode waves beneath towering sea cliffs, and listened to the people who call this incredible part of the world home.
It'll be a long day.
I just saw the whole trip flash before my eyes and was like, this is how it ends.
For almost a decade, my best mate Ishka and I have been creating surf adventure films while working with Needessentials, a small independent surf company. These journeys have never been about luxury, but about stripping life back, stepping outside of our comfort zones, embracing a kind of travel that feels real and immersive. Following the year that Ayana and I spent sailing through Indonesia, we stepped back onto land where our beautiful daughter Naya was born. As a new family, we enjoyed getting to slow down and embrace our place in the world as parents. I had picked up a small trimaran to scratch my sailing itch. Almost instantly, my imagination drifted to the places you could travel and the surf adventures that could be had on such a light, nimble vessel. Around this time, my family and I made the big decision to move down south to a remote part of Tasmania. Once part of the ancient supercontinent Gondwana, the wind-swept island of Lutruwita, Tasmania, sits in the Southern Ocean between mainland Australia and Antarctica. From glacial lakes, towering sea cliffs, weaving wild coastlines, to old-growth forests and unique wildlife. Tasmania's deep human history spans over 40,000 years of Aboriginal presence and a more recent layered colonial past that echoes through its old towns and remote highlands. As a surfer and sailor, exploring this incredible island by small boat felt like an important and deeply intimate way to connect with the place that we would now call home. It had been a few years since Ishka and I had done a trip like this together. Like most of our journeys, we were jumping into things without a whole lot of experience. Ishka had never sailed on his own, and both of us needed time to learn our boats. We anticipated it would take us a couple of months to sail around the island, so a handful of test runs were crucial before setting off. Here we go! Woo-hoo-hoo!
Flying along, this is wild!
I got my hat! Oh! Got a bit wild for a minute there.
Can't have my heart up for a bit.
I think on the trip, this would probably be a lay day unless it was behind us. Tasmania is shaped by three distinct coastlines: the east, the north, and the west, together stretching over 1,000 nautical miles. Our plan was to launch from the island's southeast corner and sail anti-clockwise. Up the calmer east coast with the prevailing southwesterlies, across the north where the Bass Strait separates Tasmania from mainland Australia, and finally down the rugged west coast, the most remote and unforgiving edge of the island. We made the final adjustments and readied the boats and ourselves for departure. Things felt really different saying goodbye as a father. I struggled with the thought of being away from my young family and also questioned if it was just unnecessary risk that we were taking. I really hoped that this journey would hold deeper purpose, that it would be an opportunity to connect with this island, gain new perspectives, and ultimately pass on the lessons we learned to our children, helping them to shape a life grounded in curiosity and adventure. Are you going to come along? You going to ride out on the trampoline? gonna go watch all the dolphins and the fishies and the birdies. Am I forgetting anything? I am?
Stay safe.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah, guys, have an epic trip.
Wish us luck. We had 30 nautical miles to cover on the first day. By far the furthest either of us had ever travelled in these little boats. With more than 1,000 miles of coastline ahead, it felt good to watch the first few slip quietly behind us. Our plan was to travel when conditions allowed, camp on shore each night, always finding a safe place to land.
We're doing it, Ish! We're really doing it!
We split food, camping gear and safety equipment between us, with enough supplies to be self-sufficient for up to a couple of weeks at a time. Back on land, our close friend would keep watch, sending us regular weather updates to our satellite phone.
Oh, that feels really good to stand up.
What was that? 8 hours? Pretty great run, wasn't it, really? Oh, it's feeling like a half-opened pocket knife.
I'm just going to get my boardies and Rashi today. Like a little day pack.
We could even take one boat.
No, wait, that was the stupidest idea. Finally had a little taste. Just sailing on my own. 3 sails in, you're already trying to ride me back.
Oh yeah, I was trying to jump in with you. Yours goes way faster than mine.
Should we have another little coffee and some porridge and have a look-see? So wild.
See the wombat?
Wait, it's just there. Just there. This whole journey was about connection. and gaining a deeper understanding of the ecosystems around us. Having just moved to Tasmania, I wanted to meet and learn from the people who'd spent their lives connecting and caring for this island. We reached out to marine biologist Dr. Scott Bennett to learn more about his love of the ocean and the incredible work he's doing here.
I'm a marine biologist, researcher here at the Institute for Marine and Antarctic Studies at the University of Tasmania, and then also co-founder of the Great Southern Reef Foundation. Great Southern Reef is it's this interconnected system of temperate reefs, so dominated by kelp forests, and it spans like over 8,000 kilometres around the southern half of Australia, and so from like Kalbarri around to Byron and everything in between. Down here there's over 1,500 species of seaweeds, which are the dominant habitat former here that make up the Great Southern Reef. 70% of the country literally live along its shores, and we're interacting, engaging with it on a daily basis. For surfing, all basically of Australia's most iconic waves break on the GSR. You don't have to look far, it's just such a playground. Our reefs are under pressure, particularly here in Tassie. The ocean's warming around 4 times faster than the average rate of warming in the global ocean. The loss of giant kelp is something that's really impacted the east coast of Tassie, and it's really challenging some of these climate-driven losses. And the most important things is, as a society, we just cut our emissions. We take climate action now and urgently, reaching out to our politicians, our local members, that this is something that's important to us as ocean lovers and users. There's amazing local initiatives here that are trying to put back, so replanting giant kelp in areas that once lived, to see just how inspired local crew are around here to get in and try and look after what we've got. For me, that gives me a lot of hope as well. So many Australians never imagined our kelp forests, our temperate reefs as this huge interconnected entity that they are. And so the role of the foundation is to really shine a light on that and try and inspire awe and wonder in these systems. For us, that's a really key ingredient to generating stewardship and care for our reef systems.
I always wonder why they don't just make the bag for the tents just the tiniest bit bigger. Just so you can get it in, and then you can tighten it up if you need to.
Here comes the wind. Hey, I just got an update of the wind forecast from Ayana, and she told me that by 4 p.m. we should expect 35 to 40 knots gusts. That's in the front of that southerly change. That's a little bit concerning. Hoping we can tuck in away from it before that.
Yeah, just see how it goes in like an hour or two, I guess, and
Yeah, cool. Alrighty, keep in touch and let's just stay close.
Bit of a change from this morning. Boat feels good. Still a little bit on edge. What happened?
Yeah, a big clonk. It looks to me like the mast step just broke. My mast is like flopping around out there. Look, doesn't look good. Gonna head for land, hey?
Yeah, let's go get out of here before we drift too far.
No, that sucks. During our trip, there would be long stretches of coastline where it would be impossible to land the boats. Our progress and safety depended heavily on the weather and our equipment. Timing and planning was everything with this trip, and these boats weren't exactly designed for the open ocean. There it is. Uh-oh. That looks pretty dreaded. Damage.
Oh well, something was bound to happen at some stage.
Just a matter of time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's
Fixable.
fixable. Could have been worse. And
Just so good it happened when it did.
luckily it was a simple fix, and the next morning we were able to continue on our way.
Charles, bit of wind in the sails.
Have it backed off a little. It's getting a little bit wild. This stretch of coastline was absolutely spectacular. Geologically ancient, these granite peaks date back nearly 400 million years. To experience them from our tiny kayaks, moving along at walking pace, was surreal.
Oi! That's a giant squid.
Oh my god, I'm so scared this thing's gonna eat me. Oi! Oi!
It's probably inked itself out. Oh my god. It inked you in the face. That's the biggest squid I've ever seen.
Oh my god, that sludge! Oh! In my eyes.
Oh my god.
Squid ink.
Big old squid, Ish.
Big old
Big old
squid mucus everywhere. Thank you, squid. Yeah.
They're huge.
Oh.
That's a huge squid. That's my hand. Thank you, squid. No more fishing necessary today. Let's go find somewhere to camp, set up, cook up. Real yummy. And we're off. We are officially passing northeast tip of Tasmania, and the east coast is about 1/4 of a nautical mile behind us.
Well, there you go. I didn't know there was a definitive line of where the east coast finishes and the north coast starts.
There's not. I just made that up. Feels good. New chapter. New leg.
We had completed the east coast, covering 200 miles in a few weeks. We now faced the north coast, infamous for its strong currents and shallow waters.
We couldn't have got luckier with the weather.
I'm glad that little bit behind it,
To be honest, it could be really, really scary. Like, it's as mellow as it gets right now, and I'm just getting stuff in a rapid.
Yeah, that was always going to be one of the sort of riskier parts. that and the entire west coast.
Oh yeah, what about that?
Our boats would average about 2 knots under pedal and sail up to 10 knots comfortably. With a forecast of consistent 15 to 25 knots of tailwind for the next week, we figured we might be getting to the west coast sooner than anticipated.
That's a really long cave.
There's some big swell lines. Look at this. I'll see you later. You're gonna disappear.
We'd been told to look up a bloke named Dave Kiley, better known as Charlie. A man who's spent a huge part of his life working the west coast as a commercial fisherman. I wanted to hear some of his stories, tap into that hard-earned local knowledge, and maybe ease some of our own nerves about taking our little boats along that stretch of unforgiving coastline. Wait, so is this your first boat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we worked there for 17 years off the west coast. Yeah, she was a good boat. She used to leak like a sieve, though.
Really?
Oh, she leaked. Shocking. We hit just about every rock on the west coast, so we mapped out where all the rocks were.
From all this time you spent on the water and on the west coast growing up over there, how does it make you feel being there and living, on your boat? And
There's something about it. You just stand out on deck and you feel the wind coming at you and it just makes you feel alive. Yeah, there's something about it.
how relentless is the weather over there on the west coast?
You can never predict it. You never ever predict, what it's going to do month to month or week to week. Johnny Fee, he got caught on this big breaker about a quarter of a mile offshore. They actually got washed off the boat. They found a gas ball and they put into a gas ball. Finally, John succumbed. His sons told me. He told me, he said, Dad just let go because the hypothermia just got him and he just drifted off. The fishing boat that picked up Peter was, and 6 months later, he got wiped out. So 6 months before he rescued this boy, and then 6 months later he was gone himself.
You must have had some pretty wild experiences out there.
Yeah. The weather was building, it was coming in, and bloody swell, mate, massive. And we had one more pot to go. And we went to grapple, and I looked up and there was just this big bastard coming, it was green. I said to the crew, I said, hang on, Baz. And it bloody hit us. And there was a clay pot up on the bow, and that came, the wave picked that up, brought that back, hit it against the front of the wheelhouse. All those windows went out, and then another big one come aboard and bloody dumped on us.
How big was the wave?
Oh, bloody big. It was, probably as high as the wheelhouse,
Oh,
But she handled it.
yeah, old girl. Yeah.
She handled it. She pierced through that wave, no problems. Oh, and she surfs really well. I think I may be freaking a bit. But then once I knew we were sort of safe, I enjoyed it, yeah. But that hum in the boat was just humming. Yeah.
What are your thoughts about a couple of novice sailors fumbling their way down the west coast in a couple of plastic boats? Do you think it's a bit crazy, a bit silly?
No, it's not silly at all, no. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
But there's not many places where you could, just go in and go ashore. There's no all-weather anchorage, except for Macquarie Harbour and Port Davey. There's a lot of space in between, Yeah.
It was a pleasure meeting Charlie. We could have shared stories and talked boats with him for days. Beneath the enthusiasm and encouragement was a quiet, weathered calm, the kind that comes from a lifetime on the ocean. Despite his positive attitude to our trip, his tragic accounts of skilled captains and large vessels perishing at sea didn't exactly ease our nerves. We knew that with winter approaching, conditions were only going to make travelling the west coast more challenging. We covered 200 nautical miles in 4 big days, leaving the north coast all but behind us. The conditions on the west coast were everything we feared. After rounding the Cape, a massive Southern Ocean weather system forced us to retreat upriver for a week. As the low pressure system slowly blew itself out, we found ourselves deep inside one of the oldest untouched rainforests on the planet. This was the first time since our very first camp that we'd stopped for more than one night. So far, we'd been on this journey for over 5 weeks, and our bodies were exhausted. The long days on the water had blurred together. Sitting still, in the cold rain, the distance from our families felt heavier, and the feeling of isolation set in. The questions in my head grew louder. Why were we here, and what were we hoping to find? we were introduced to Indigenous elder Dr. Emma Lee, an incredible woman from the Trawulway people of Tebrikuna country.
When I stand here and I think for 40,000 years our people have made this place our home. We don't just care for sea country, we actually come from sea country. We are of sea country. So in our story, in our creation story, women are of the sea, men are of the land, and everyone comes from night sky country. If we think of country, it's not a spot on the map. Country isn't just a bit of bounded geography. So country is, to us, that's a cultural, spiritual, emotional, intellectual place of belonging. And while others can't be the same as us, I don't believe that we can't have a sense of shared heritage. So you come into country with a welcome and a message about how to care for it while you're here. But the whole point is that you make it better for the next generation, 7 generations, 70, 700. And that kinship, meaning that this tree is a brother and sister. It's that reciprocity. When I care for that tree, I'm caring for my family, and in return they give me everything. And so if you love country, country loves you right back, and you are never alone. Yes, it's wild. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, you have to follow the rules to look after yourself, but that anxiety is cut through by knowing that this is family. So much is expected of us as people in the world today. Instead, we've forgotten the very basic reason for our existence as humans, which is to be beautiful in country. Just to be beautiful in country.
Each day on this coast shifted in its own way. Moments of calm giving way to the raw, unrestrained force of the Southern Ocean. We continued where we could, exploring a maze of rivers and protected waterways, waiting for an opportunity to get back out to the open ocean.
Can't even make it out on the river, let alone into the ocean.
We sure we should be doing this? Here comes the rain, brother! Whoa!
Nice to be tucked in out of that wind.
Definitely don't want to be coming back through here when the tide starts running out too much. I can tell you that. Some of those squalls will be coming through. There's already little waves standing up here and it's the top of the tide right now.
West Coast, eh? No place for small plastic boats.
No. I don't know if we need to do that.
Yeah, let's buy it. Let's go do something a little bit safer.
The conditions stayed unforgiving. Even here, sheltered from the worst of it, progress was hard. We reflected on our conversation with Emma and took this as a sign. This wasn't a place to claim or overcome, but one to travel through with respect and a willingness to listen. With a forecast that showed no signs of easing, we decided not to continue with our plan to sail the exposed side of the southwest coast. Instead, we pulled the boats from the water and saw it as an invitation to head inland.
So, where are you guys off to today?
Not really sure.
Oh, we get a lot of that.
As we moved deeper into the beating heart of the island, we found ourselves rolling through quiet towns that echo the island's forestry and mining industry. Paralleled with temperate rainforests of towering trees that have endured for thousands of years, filled with plants whose lineage traces directly back to the ancient supercontinent of Gondwana.
It is so nice. Definitely feel a lot less vulnerable in a lake.
Look how beautiful it is. Wow. This doesn't even feel real.
Away from the coast, from waves and surf, I felt an overwhelming calm, as if this place held something else. Something truly magic that words cannot begin to do justice.
Your hand's cold.
Really cold. My toes are frozen.
There was an eeriness to the beauty of this lake, which we learned was controversially dammed over 50 years ago, adding a quiet weight to the experience. When we couldn't go any further, we loaded the boats back onto the trailer and carried them across to the southeast edge of the island. From there, we could use the prevailing southwest winds to travel the remainder of the east coast, back to where our journey began.
So good.
Damn, that's good, isn't it?
So good.
Over the past couple of months, we covered roughly 700 nautical miles in our little boats. What began as a quest to circumnavigate this island slowly gave way as we spent more time here. By listening and letting go of control, we were able to experience this place on a far deeper level. We had the great privilege and pleasure to meet author and Tasmanian treasure, Richard Flanagan.
How are you? Pleased to meet you.
Yeah, I guess what I'd like to talk to you about would just be your connection to, Tasmania.
It was an extraordinary place to grow up because so much of it was so full of life. It was as if this small island contained the universe. There was always something new, something extraordinary. I just found it a constant source of wonder. No one here was here because of the money. They were here because they found it an extraordinary world. The measure of everything that was extraordinary was everything that wasn't man-made. In the Yongle, there are people up in northeast Arnhem, remarkable people. And in their language, they have a fourth tense in which past, present and future all exist together. And when I first learnt about this, I thought, how extraordinary. Because once you start thinking of the world like that you simultaneously exist now, but also in the past and also in the future, you realise that you do have a responsibility for everything that comes after you. But you're also intimately connected to everything that came before you, and you see yourself and your part in the world entirely differently, that you don't have to impose yourself heavily, that you can live with a certain humility and a certain joy. If you look at the people around you, your family, your friends, the animals you see, then there's so much cause for joy and for hope. And that's actually reality. What you see on your phone, much of that, it's not in your life. Sometimes it impacts your life. that your life is actually this sand, that water, these trees, this light. Up from where you've sailed today, you know, is sort of ground zero for the salmon industry. And that's brought a lot of destruction to these beautiful waterways. And, you know, I've witnessed terrible sickening and dying off of those waterways. For them to be destroyed just for the sake of making money for companies in distant lands seems to me to be profoundly wrong. And when people threaten these things, then we do need to stand up for them. But when we stand up for them together, what we discover is not despair but hope. We discover what's good in each other. And you realise you're not alone. There's a sort of communal love, and if you open yourself up to it, you become part of it. And that's the gift of the island to each other.
Throughout our journey, Ishka and I have been in awe of the natural beauty here. And it's obvious just how spectacular this place is and how deeply connected its inhabitants are. Our conversations with the people we've met along the way has given us a deeper understanding of what we all truly value about this island. And we've begun to gain clarity of what it means to live here and the responsibility we have to care for it. The wild beauty, the untamed oceans, and a culture shaped by sky and sea.
We've officially sailed 3 capes, Toz, and we're almost back to where we started. But what a way to end the trip, eh?
As we closed in on our final miles, I found myself reflecting on just how fortunate I am to be able to share all of this with my best mate, and how grateful I am to have surfing and sailing as a portal to the natural world. Through these deep, immersive experiences, exposed to the elements and stripped from creature comforts, I feel connected in new ways. I believe we have a responsibility as humans and as parents to advocate for a future where our children and our grandchildren can also experience these same raw, rugged wonders.
Well done. Made it.